hasn't been taught formally. You see, when it comes to building wealth, it's either you know somebody who is wealthy, on TV. Many of us have never even one-on-one met a billionaire before. We, read about them, but we've not met them. But more important is the process to getting there. And this subject of money, we all need money. Money is important to all of us. All of us want to be able to pay bills, and particularly in this season where things are getting a lot tougher in Nigeria. Fuel subsidy removal, electricity tariff is coming, taxation will increase. If you don't take the subject of money very seriously, you will just wake up one day and you are in extreme poverty. And let me start by letting you know that wealth is a personal responsibility. No government will do it for you. Your pastor won't do it for you. Your parent won't do it for you. Your professor won't do it for you. You have to personally figure out how to become wealthy. And number two, that I want you to note that and take it very serious, okay? Small money will never be enough. Some of us just say, I'm not greedy. I just want little money. I'm sorry. Little. That word little will never be enough. In fact, the day you set out to have just little money is the day you've officially written that you want to be a poor man till you die. I'll give you a few data to back that up. Even in America, inflation is risen to the record level. What this means is if I get this wine for, let's say, normally $2, it means now I have to pay $3.50 to get it. It means that rent has gone up, cars have gone up, food items have gone up. So if all my dreams and vision in life was to say, you know what, I just want to, if I can just have $5,000 every month, I'll be okay financially. Suddenly, because of something called inflation, and it happens time again and again and again. So in your lifetime, inflation will occur many times. Suddenly, the $5,000 you've said, I just want little money, and $5,000 is okay. Suddenly, you're not a poor man and you're behind on your bills. This is the reason why the concept of I just want little money never works. Because inflation keeps hitting, and that's what happened. Many of our parents who we eventually categorize into poor bracket did not start as poor. In fact, I remember my dad saying to me, I was the first person to buy a car in our family, in our lineage. He had a B2 Volkswagen car. Unfortunately, years later, owning a Volkswagen means you're a poor person. But it didn't start that way. So what does it then mean, this concept of being wealthy? Wealth is the ability to be able to have more than enough, okay, irrespective of economic situation in the nation you live in, and probably even globally. Your ability to be a rich man in Nigeria, and at the same time you go to the US, you're still a rich man. Now we can say you're wealthy. But wealth is also beyond just what you take care for you and your family. It's also your ability to have enough to give, to help, to impact the society. And for you to do that, a lot has to change. Somewhere about testing, I guess, says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So it has to be different. Now, let me share my own personal story. How did I get into this world where wealth became something very important for me, and I was particular about having it? So I was born to a middle-class family, or you can say lower-class family. My mother was a civil servant. My father's business that crumbled by the time I was born. And so I remember at some point we're in Maiduguri and we're living in a village, no running water, no electricity. We had to trek many kilometers to even see a tarred road and then take a bus to go to school. So we're practically in the village. And that was the kind of lifestyle. If we didn't even I didn't even have a bed. I did not see a water closet that you could flush your toilet until I was 13. But By the time I became a teenager, 14, 15, by 13 we moved to Kwara State. We lived in a place where there was no electricity, there was no running water. And I could see a lot of our neighbors having good cars, and we were still a bit, struggling. The only car my dad bought at some point, we had to keep pushing it, and it was just embarrassing. And growing up as a teenager, I knew I didn't want this lifestyle. Going to school, my mother would have to go and borrow money from my neighbors, and it was just embarrassing. I knew this lifestyle wasn't for me. So I started reading books on money. I read my first book on money 17, 18, called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read a book called Acres of Diamond, Think and Grow Rich. So mentally, I started seeing the possibility that even though I wasn't born from a rich home, a rich family can come out of me. The possibilities are showing, for real. And fortunately for me, I lost my mother to ovarian cancer. And for me, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Of course, because from reading books, I started a business. I knew the direction I wanted to go. But the subject of understanding that there's nothing to love about poverty, there's nothing glorious about poverty, there's nothing exciting about poverty, it struck me when my mother died of cancer. As a civil servant, she couldn't afford private hospital, so she was going to teaching hospital for 6 months. They couldn't diagnose what was wrong with her. And then she went to teaching a private hospital, did a lot of tests, only to discover she had ovarian cancer. But it has spread. 2 days after removing the tumor or whatever it is, she died. And my mother, you see, was the most important person to me. She was special. She was everything. I'm who I am today because of the sacrifice of my mother. And of course, many other people. My mother was major. And when I checked the bill after she died, the entire bill was just a little over 500,000 naira. I said to myself, so it meant that if we had had 500,000 naira 6 months ago, my mother would have had more time to live. And I vow that day, the end has come to me and poverty. And I want to have enough so that no close direct relation to me will suffer this anymore. And that got me more serious. And I'm saying this intentionally because many of us do not realize that the reason why we're poor is because we tolerate poverty. We're still okay with it. We still feel there's no big deal to poverty, but there is big deal to poverty. You need to fight it. Seriously. A man by the name M.Q. Abiola said something very powerful. He said, poverty is a stubborn goat. The cane that you use to chase it away, you need to keep it handy because sometime you want to come back. You have to come to the realization that you must fight poverty like you're fighting somebody physical that is against your growth. And I've said many times that being poor in Africa is suicidal. You can die because you've chosen to accept poverty as one of those things, as, oh, we're not going to take money to heaven. But listen to me, there's no point dying before your time because you embrace poverty. So I'm going to share with you about 4 key things you need to do. Personally, things within your control if you want to end this poverty thing. Number 1 is get financial literacy. So I share with you my story. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad at the age of 17, 18. If I didn't have that mindset, if I didn't become financially literate as a result of reading that book at that early age, I will still be poor today. It's easy for people to look at me and say, oh, you're wealthy at a young age. I remember seeing my doctor and he said, oh, my son is just 4 years younger than you and you're this successful. And what these people don't know is I started as a teenager many years ago. Now we're counting 20 years into it. So whether I look young or not, I've put in the time, the resources, the energy. You need to start putting that time. How many books on money have you read? When last did you read book on money? How many seminars teaching you about money did you go and pay for and say, I am committed to becoming wealthy and I want to sit under somebody who's already wealthy and I want to learn the entire process of becoming wealthy? Have you done that? If you haven't done that, then you're not yet really serious, because that's the beginning of this so-called becoming wealthy. You must understand what is an asset, what's the liability, what's the processes to building wealth, what are the steps those who have made it, and there are books to help you. Well, my own book is called Billionaire Habits. You can go to my website and buy. I took time to explain the processes, the habits of billionaires. Number 2, budget your expenses, right? I suffered this as well, and sometimes I'm still caught in the web of not having proper budget. So and one of the assignments I want to give you: write down everything you buy in the next 30 days, including as simple as matches box, as simple as paying for a cab or buying fuel in the gas station. Write it down. And I promise you, after 30 days, I want you to look at where you've written all those things, and you discovered why you've been poor. You see some things you've been putting money into that were not necessary. You'll be seeing some wastages. You'll be seeing some places you're putting money in, and you really didn't need to put money there. But until you write down every single thing you spend money on for 30 days, you will not really be able to analyze and identify some of the leakages that is keeping you poor. You see, poverty is a habit. Wealth is also a habit. Choose one. Wealthy people budget. There used to be a phase in my life, I only buy clothes once a year. Even if I'm lodging in an hotel that has a mall, I'm not going to buy. I just shop once a year because I wanted to budget it. I wanted to be sure I'm not just doing impulse spending, right? Impulse spending, just buy it, right? Poor people buy what they don't need to impress people that don't care. And that's one of the major reasons for poverty: buying what you don't need to impress people who don't care. And when you see people run into debt, this is one of the reasons why. Yes, you may tell me, but Dr. Stephen, everything is important. Everything I'm paying for is important. And I say, okay, let's do the analysis. I say, my children, they attend the school and they pay X amount. And I've said it over and over again. Most of your children attend the school that you cannot afford. Right? Who are you trying to impress? My children at some point were attending the poorest school in our neighborhood. Today, they attend the most expensive school in the entire state of Lagos. And good school as well. Life is in phases, men are in sizes. I wasn't, ignorant that I wanted my children to attend good school when they were going to the poorest school. I was conscious of that. I knew I wanted to have best education. But at this level, if I continue to try to impress, send them to school I can't afford, we will remain poor for the rest of our lives. And many of us do that. We play this emotional card. Oh, we have to do it. No, you don't have to do it now. You might do it later. Right? And if you take that tough, hard road now, I promise you, it's a matter of time, you will be able to eventually even do way better than what you had wanted to do earlier. Because I look back, okay, the best school where we were living then, I was living in Songota then, wasn't really, how good really was it? And if I'd robbed my future just because I wanted to, and it's called delayed gratification. Some things have to be delayed now. They are good, but delayed now. For now, they're not good for you. Number 3, save your way to investment. Oftentimes people save, but it's not for investment. Oftentimes people don't save at all because they claim they don't have enough. And again, that's why you need number 2, budget your money. Cut it down. Cut down some things. We don't have, must you use 2 cars? I've been carless many times. I drove one car for years. Yes, and I could buy a brand new, but I was still driving one old rickety, Toyota 4Runner. I probably kept it in my museum. I think I still have it in one of our offices, just a reminder of where we're coming from. I don't know whether they've disposed it now. But I had that car. Okay? You can cut off some things. If you cut enough things, you will figure out what you can save. Nobody has all the money. I don't have all the money. If I tell you, I have so much bills as I speak to you right now. Nobody has all the money. You will always need money. You will always be in a position where you need more money. So make sure and do everything in your power to save. But don't just save for saving's sake. The savings has to be put into something. Money has to work for you. Okay? Many of us get used to just putting money in the bank and getting excited. Nah, money must work for you. That's really the whole process. Money has to work for you. And all wealthy people, that's their secret. They don't work for money. Money works for them. They only go to work with their passion, they're excited. But it's not because they will be hungry if they don't go to work. If I don't go to work today now, I will never be poor till I die. That's guaranteed. But I still work because I love what we do. I see a vision. I see us building something great. That's what I work for. Number 4 and the last, plan your financial destiny. Take personal responsibility to plan. Where will you be 5 years from now financially? What are the types of investment you will own, right? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. Some of us don't sit down and dream a financial future. We don't dream of a financially free future. How do you even measure? How do you even know you're free if you can't measure, if you can't sit down and dream and analyze and, plan it? Okay? Sit down, write it down. This is where I will be 5 years from now financially, 10 years from now financially, 20 years from now financially. I've written mine 15 years ago. I give myself 2035. I will own 25,000 properties in Africa worth $20 billion and more. And I recently added more, doubled the challenge before 81. I will have another 25,000 housing units outside of, Africa, across the globe. You know what? Over $20 billion and more. It's a challenge. Have I gotten there? No. That's the race. I mean, you set the target so that you can run and pant. Some of us just want to, God will do it, I will leave it to God. God will not do for man what man can do for himself. God gave you and I brain so that he can rest. Use the brain. Plan it. Write the vision down. Make it plain that you may run that read it. It's when you write it down, you can now present it to God. That, Lord, this is my desires. I need your help to accomplish it. But man was designed to plan his or her own future. Particularly, his or her own financial future. The future you don't plan for, you will never get there. I'm Dr. Stephen Akintayo. Feel free to go to my website for my books. You can, of course, work with our company, GTEX Holdings. We're into so many real estate investment programs. You can check any one of them out. And of course, don't forget to join the Stephen Akintayo University. It's a platform that will just open you up into the world of finance, wealth creation, and becoming wealthy.